Hi, I'm Brittney Ashley, your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams, your guide through this transformative journey in both business and life. This is your place crafted for dreamers, doers, or anyone who has been told they can't. Get ready as we challenge those narratives together. You're tuning in live to the United Public Radio Network, airing on 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. We are streaming on all the popular platforms every Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me for a candid and thought-provoking conversation celebrating your unique journey because you are worth it. Hello, everyone. Happy Monday. I feel like I was just here if you were listening to me earlier with Addie. We were talking about VIP days and all of that. So if you haven't watched that yet, please watch Negotiating Happiness with Addie earlier on today. And for those just tuning in, I'm Brittney Ashley. I'm your host of Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. And I'm so excited to have Nadine back today. Thank you, Nadine, for coming
Wee. Oh, I'm so happy too. And I need to listen to that recording of the session you've just done, Negotiating Happiness. Wow, that sounds intriguing.
Yes. We're trying to interplay where Addie will come into my show and then her show, so we can kind of shed light back and forth with the different listeners so they can learn more about us a bit more. But for those who are just listening, we are broadcasting live on the United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 FM and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. Tongue twister sometimes. Get ready to escape the next hour as we break norms and build dreams with Nadine today. I'm so excited to have you back, Nadine. And today we're talking about professional skills from motherhood.
Yeah, I'm super excited. It's a topic that seems to be coming up a lot with like people I'm working with, which are ambitious moms. I feel actually like even prepping for the show, I thought we could even do it the other way around. It's like professional skills that we can use for motherhood and things we learn through motherhood that we can definitely apply at work. So it's basically like a two-way system.
Definitely tap into like the different areas there for sure. For those just tuning in for the first time and have not met lovely Nadine, Nadine actually comes in every month. We were still trying to playing with what days you really come in. It's usually every Monday's on the 17th-ish week-ish. But really it depends too on how busy Nadine is. But I'm just so excited for you to come in every month with us. Nadine is an international coach for moms who want to get their mojo back, go after more and the thing they can't stop thinking about. Start taking action and move step closer to what they truly are happy about doing. Maybe just remind listeners or new listeners of your background and who you are.
Yeah, well, you pretty much kind of summed it up on the professional side of things. It's like I'm getting really passionate about supporting moms who just want more for themselves. And it's like, oh, there has to be more than this grind here. It's like let's look where the spark is and how to bring a bit of joy back. So I'm currently also based in Vancouver, in BC on the Pacific coast in Canada, I'm a mom. I'm a soon-to-be mom again, as well, and I coach clients around the world, from solopreneurs to moms on maternity leave to first-time managers and directors. It's like the full bandwidth, and I love it. It's my dream job, really, and I'm so excited to be sharing my expertise and knowledge, everything that comes around. And I'm so grateful to be on the show with you, Brittney. And I know there's a lot of things that we have in common and we share with regards to values and how we want to support moms. So this is just really fun for me to come in. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you. Maybe because we haven't done this in some time, I was just thinking, Nadine, maybe we can educate our listeners on what a coach is, because I find you and I are both ACC accredited with the International Coaching Federation, which a lot of people may or may not know. A lot of people may know it if you're more in the corporate setting, because a lot of people end up venturing more in that kind of certification. and some just might have come across it here and there. But overall, I like to tell others that coaching is really a way for you to kind of stop and think. And we as coaches come in and think of thought-provoking questions so you can kind of navigate your own way, because sometimes we get really caught in the noise and we forget how we can navigate from one point to another point, because sometimes we're always being told of what we're needing to do, but sometimes we already know what we need to do.
Absolutely. It's like that's such a recurring theme. It's
Mhm.
about the listening to your own voice, like figuring out what it is that you actually want, not, you know, someone else's expectations or the shoulds that are going on in your head. Um,
Mhm.
yes, well, we are both here today, probably talking and sharing some tips and tricks and maybe some knowledge and stories. Usually in coaching, we're assuming that the people that who we're supporting and helping are the experts in their own lives, and it's down to us to kind of tease that out of them, tease this knowledge and this inner wisdom out of them, and motivate and
Mhm.
encourage, and hold accountable and celebrate with them when they're, on their journey and trying things out of what really works with them. And that comes in form of questions. So usually it's the client that talks a lot more than the coach.
And sometimes, like for myself, I combine the two mechanisms together. So, yes, I'm a certified business coach, imposter syndrome coach, but I organically sometimes do consulting, mentoring as well. And so when
Mhm.
I'm coaching my entrepreneurs on how to build foundational businesses, I kind of intertwine both. And I usually announce, okay, and I give, it's more or less too, I ask the client, are you okay if I put this hat on now? So they can kind of see the mold between the two. And I find if I don't do that, sometimes clients are so used to me giving advice that they're like,
Mhm.
Brittney.
Yes. Yeah. It really depends on what the client needs and wants as well. It's the same for me. So that if there's a lot of like career coaching and you want to go through resume or play through negotiation
Yeah.
techniques or prep for an interview and stuff like that, that looks a lot different.
Mhm.
Then that's a different aspect. And I'm very big on like the asking for permission to, is it okay if we do this? Or,
Mhm.
would you be open to me sharing some stuff? And yeah, it
Yeah.
always depends. There's a lot of intertwining going on depending on really what the client needs and wants.
100%. Yeah. Well, with that, maybe we can dig into professional skills from motherhood. For those who don't, maybe we can dig a little bit deeper, because I know you're more than your background is just coaching. I know you've had many different hats. So maybe we can kind of
Hmm.
touch each other's background. So, me specifically, I wore many hats. I've worked in the event industry, tourism industry. I've worked in the tech industry. I was a project manager. What was Brittany not? We don't know. Probably all the things.
You wore all the hats.
Very many hats. But I love it because it makes me, the one thing, for example, I'll just kind of take back to the tourism hospitality. And I think this is probably where I got this notion of learning the different industries, is when I did my degree or my diploma, sorry, I have many different diplomas, certifications. Uh, when I did my diploma in tourism hospitality, the one thing that they liked us to do, because their end goal was to train us to be managers or operation managers,
Hmm.
is to experience how it is to be in housekeeping. How is it to be a cook? I kind of got shoved out of being a cook because I stressed the cook out a little bit. I cut the knives not the proper way.
Or there's some health and safety issues, concerns.
It wasn't health and safety. It was more a safety issue. It
Mm.
was more, Brittany, you're cutting too close to your fingertips. You're probably going to cut your hand off. You go to the other line and just fold.
Hmm.
No. So I got kicked out. Still got an A. But at the end of the day is that I was able to experience the different mechanisms of different um, job titles in a way, from waitressing to all the things. So then, if I ever became into that role, because originally I thought I always wanted to be in tourism hospitality, I could kind of understand where the employees are. And I was able to step in to assist in some kind of level.
Hmm.
Uh, so I just love like learning all the different kind of industries. I think that's kind of like my knack.
I knew you were in a lot of different industries, and I remember you talking briefly about the tourism and hospitality sector. I
Mm.
had no idea that there's so much that actually aligns with my background too, because
Yeah.
I've done exactly the same thing. But for me, it was like I kind of got out of the housekeeping one and ended up in the kitchen a tiny bit more, the restaurant, and but it was also like going through, you know, all the different areas, and that's what I love too. It's the, you know, experiencing the client from different perspectives and how you can touch them, and the whole um the support and client service that comes as part of it, right? I also have a like my main background, I would say, would be in as a hiring manager, people manager. I've I had a in a corporate setting, also in an international tech company. So it's a lot of working and aligning with other teams. Multicultural teams across the world, a lot of mentoring and training in that area too. That's where I discovered coaching for myself as a tool alongside training, mentoring, encouraging, all those types of things. I had a lot of mothers on my team back then too. And I have to say, since becoming a mom after I'd left that role, a lot of things actually came to mind. It's like, yeah, you've done this right. And also, you know, I could have handled a few things differently. Not necessarily that they were in a bad space, but I like reflecting afterwards, like, okay, this is why things played out the way they played out, and this is where I could have leaned in a bit more to support. So those are there's a lot of learning and reflections from that as well, and it's all now going back to help better the workplaces and empower moms in the workplace.
Mhm. Yeah, maybe we can, it sounds like you and I, that's probably why organically we've just kind of meshed so well since we met each other. Oh, Nadine and I have yet to meet each other. It's only been ever virtual.
Oh my goodness, that's true. We've collaborated on so many different projects and in so many different ways, and
Yeah,
somehow, even though we're how far away are we from each
we're
other?
like a
Like
ferry away,
a ferry away, yeah, an island away.
an island away. But still, it is a long process sometimes. If you're on, I'm in Victoria, BC, for those who are just listening, or who don't know, which is here's Vancouver Island, and then Vancouver's right here. So you have to take about, I just rounded 2 hours, give or take, to get on over to the mainland, and then depending where you are in Vancouver, then you have to add the driving time. But it's a lot. It's a process to get over
It
there.
is, yes, or alternatively, take one of those, tiny planes, those
Yeah,
water what do you call them again?
harbor float planes.
Yeah, float planes, to go over, but, yeah, I'd probably prefer the ferry.
Well, I did recently come over, and like I already have severe anxiety traveling by myself, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And then the next day, unfortunately, one of the harbor planes hit a boat because a boat went in the traffic lane. And I was like, yeah, that I would have opted out if that happened before I went on the harbor plane because it's already so much anxiety flying. I
Oh,
think
no.
for traveling too, if you have that kind of anxiety, so then seeing that kind of news report is just kind of like, no thanks.
Mm, yeah.
Um, But with that, for anyone listening, professional skills, I feel like we as moms, one, we kind of sometimes lose our identity as a, maybe like from fashion or from who we are, what we loved prior. I know for
Mhm,
me, like I feel like that's still like something I'm navigating as a mom of two, because I'm just always constantly busy with the kiddos. And I find sometimes, for me anyways, I put meeting friends more on the back burner. But personally, I feel like I need to meet friends because it gives me that sense of belonging, sense of outlet too.
mhm.
And
There's
I
more to you than being, in quotation marks, "just a mom," right?
exactly,
There's other aspects. Mhm,
and the unfortunately is sometimes moms forget to put themselves first. So the whole self the more or less putting self first, then we kind of get lost in the lines of the work of what is our professional lives before.
Mhm.
Because in 2017, I was in the tech industry, but then I took some time off earlier. So really, I haven't been in a regular 9 to 5 ish if I ever want to go back, but no, thank you. Sideways. Um, I wouldn't even know what to even apply for,
Mhm.
because even though I have all these things, it's like, well, what can I apply for? So maybe you have some ideas and tips for anyone listening.
On how to get back into 9 to
Yeah.
5?
Not into a 9 to 5, or maybe if they want to follow a different kind of passion.
Mm. Um, well, first of all, it's like before you go into anything like this, I think it's really important to get a bit of clarity
Mhm.
um, in so what are your strengths, what are your passions, what do you value, what are your non-negotiables
Mhm.
um, of like what a new role should be like, or not should be like, let's scratch that should of what a new role needs to be like, or what you'd actually want out of it. And a lot of that doesn't necessarily come straight away. Some people might know right away, it's like, this is what I want. But then you dig a bit deeper or kind of flesh it out a bit. And it's like, actually, I might need to think about that a bit more. It's like, how much commute do you want? It's not just about the pay package. It's also oftentimes with moms, it's about flexibility. It's about paid leave. It's healthcare, the whole benefits package itself. It's a matter of what are work conditions like? What's the team like? Because you might get the best payment package and benefits package, but if the workplace is actually toxic, it'll cost you more than what you'll gain. So there's a lot there that needs to be kind of unpacked and be clear about, and that usually comes through. It's like we're talking, we're brainstorming it out. Sometimes it's exercises like finding your values or visualizations of what it might look like in the future. It's like your perfect, like your perfect day in your future job, and just start dreaming a bit and putting it on paper. And once you have that clarity, it becomes a lot easier to look more for the type of jobs that you want, rather than kind of throwing spaghetti at the wall
Mhm.
and just seeing what sticks. Because
Yes.
let's face it, we often don't have a lot of time and energy to go jump hunting, which could be a full-time job by itself. So having that clarity first, and then going a bit more focused into what that new passion or that new job or that new hobby or volunteer opportunity, you name it, whatever that is, it's a lot easier
Mhm.
than just trying out a whole lot of things that may or may not work. Which is in some cases, it's okay if you have a lot of time and energy and you're not really that much in a hurry. But usually it's like, if there's a more efficient way to go for it, that's what clients want to go for and choose. What about you?
I find, well, I was just kind of looking down at some of the questions that we laid out earlier, and I was just kind of thinking, well, where do I start? You know, I started my business to help moms work from home, and
Hmm.
it's like a true passion. And the biggest thing why I started it was because a lot of jobs out there say that they are flexible, and they are not.
Hmm.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter what industry. I find like a lot of employers end up putting that on their job description, and you end up getting there, and then it ends up not working out to what you really thought it was going to be.
The word flexible seems to be flexible. There's a range of what that means.
Yeah, which I
Mhm.
was kind of going to spin off a little bit there from what you're saying. I feel that as moms, as parents, whoever has kids, the biggest thing is flexibility. And again, I find that's coming more in the forefront than we can see more than ever, because you have to also look at daycare. That's another situation in its finest, but daycare has specific drop-off times, pickup times, if you're late, and all these things. And if an employer is not flexible, like I kind of get a little like spicy, I guess, angry, because if an employer is not flexible when you need to pick up or leave, that makes it even hard on the parent as a self.
Mhm.
As parents, as moms, you really want to be there and be able to pick up your kid as at a certain time. And so flexibility, it needs to be such at a forefront. And so for employers listening and you're putting flexibility on your job descriptions, please be mindful that there's a lot of parents probably out there looking for those kind of jobs. It's not just because they want to come and go as they please. It's because they need to work with an organization that's wanting to work with them. And
Mhm.
it's one part of their values. And I find sometimes, unfortunately, in our society, we end up getting blamed because we're millennials or Gen X, Gen,
Yeah.
whatever
Mhm.
the title is. And it's really not that. It's because in today's society, too, daycare, the lack of support that we have to raise kids,
Mhm.
it's hard. Bottom line, it's hard.
It's on so many, yes, exactly, and it's on so many levels. I mean, it's like even school sometimes, depending on which one your kids are going to, it's like it finishes at 3, right? It's like if you don't have after school care or access to it or can afford it or whatever, it's like it's just not meant to be in support of a working family. It's like 9 to 3. Okay, which jobs are 9 to 3 or 10 to 3 or
Exactly.
whatever there is? It's just it's not really working, and I guess we can go down a rabbit hole here and be really mad about it together.
It's
um, for
well, time
sure.
pickup time is actually at 2:40. So if you think of like I have to leave here at 2. So
Hmm.
9, like that's just even harder. But
Yeah.
thinking of like more on the professional skills, circling back on that. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a rant because I find like that the flexibility
Yeah.
thing like drives me bananas when people put that on their outline. But when you're thinking of your own professional skills and
Hmm.
flexibility is important to you, I think coming in with curious questions to the employer would be very helpful to make sure you're navigating into the right area employment
Hmm.
before signing the papers. Because I find
Absolutely.
like I know for me when I got jobs, I'm like, oh, I got hired, and then I sign it, and then I'd be like, "Oh, I didn't think about asking that," or,
Mm.
"What? They said it in there, but I didn't actually highlight it within over here, but now I'm stuck."
Yeah.
So I worked somewhere for, like, 6 weeks, and it was actually so I'm in, out in Langfordish area, and I got a job out in Sydney, and originally my job started at 10, and before I know it, I was leaving at like 7 in the morning to get there.
Oh no.
And it's not sustainable, uh,
No.
especially when you think you're signing up for something and it ends up not being flexible. So
Yeah.
I think when you're thinking of professional skills, looking at the job posting and thinking of questions that you can ask as well would make sure that's in alignment to your values. So that's kind of like
Exactly.
well,
Yeah, exactly. And it's yeah, just what you mentioned there, that's where the clarity comes in. It's like, what are your non-negotiables? What are
mhm,
the say the timing for, start and pick up? What are your non-negotiables around a certain amount of yes, payment or working hours within a week or uh response times to emails. Is it okay for this company that once you switch off your laptop at, I don't know, 6 o'clock in the afternoon or in the evening, that you no longer will reply to emails until the next day? Or is that actually something that you would prefer? Then, once the kids are in bed, you do another 2, 3 hours in the evenings because that just works for your particular family situation. And it's actually okay for you to send those emails out yourself, and it won't be seen as something critical the next day. It's like, hi, why are you sending your colleagues an email at 10 p.m. or whatever? So you
yeah,
really need to be mindful is like, what is it that you want that would work for you in an ideal scenario, and then bring those things up, right? As questions. As a hiring manager, I would always make space and time during interviews for the interviewee to ask questions. And I would highlight it as something positive, that they thought ahead of time about what they need to know about this role, because it shows interest. It's like, this isn't just anything. This is what I specifically need or want to know about this role and how this plays out. So
Yeah.
definitely prepare some questions beforehand. And that usually comes with clarity.
Yes. How would you say, because you kind of touched on this a bit earlier, but how would you say your empathy has changed after having a kid and now coming into a second? Like, how do you think your empathy has changed with working with other moms, or not just other moms, but just in a setting, like if you're going into a work environment, how do you help you evolve?
I want to say I was an compassionate person even before, but if you've not been in those shoes and you haven't experienced sleepless nights and you still have to go in at 9 o'clock in the morning in the office and, punch numbers or be patient with clients, it's just something else. Once you've walked in those shoes or experienced it, maybe close by or secondhand through, I don't know, your sister or a close relative or partner, it's really difficult to kind of just get it. And I feel like if another mom's working alongside you and they're like, oh, I feel like I've run a marathon before 7 a.m. this morning, you know what that is like. And you don't have to explain or anything. It's just, okay, what do you need? Here, let me get you a coffee. Here, it's you're just getting there at I don't know. I feel I get others a lot easier and better without them having to necessarily express everything in detail. It's just easier. And I know. Okay. Or I get it. Here's what I can do for you. It's getting to the point much faster, which also helps with relationship building usually.
100%. And I think, like, to touch on that too, like I'm always interconnected with the different relationships that I created when I did work a 9 to 5, and even still now, understanding as a mom too. Like, we had Sarah on the show, for example, earlier when I first started the show, and she's like, "Do you mind if Brooklyn comes in the show?" I was like, "If you want her in the show, by all means." I'm like, "I get it, girl."
Yeah.
And it's that kind of compassion and empathy that a lot of moms/parents need. It's that empathy, but then also maybe it's that extra questions that we can do on our end of like, what other support do you need to make you feel comfortable here?
Yeah. Yeah. And it kind of, like I said, it kind of goes both ways. It's like sometimes this is why I've changed some of the conditions on when people sign up with me as a coach. It's like there's a lot more flexibility in there, because I know it's like kids are going to be sick. Moms are usually the main caretakers and need to jump in. So there might be last minute cancellations or reschedules. It could be that kiddo was teething now, and yes, just switch off your camera or turn away if you want to, or go whatever you like to do and just nurse your child while we're having a coaching session. It's happened several times. It's like, yeah, sure, like, let's do it. So yeah, empathy is huge. And it's and I can, like, some of the parents that I'm coaching in the corporate world, they have that as one of their main strengths on how they're building their teams. They can just empathize with everyone else on the team. It's so much, there's quite the difference there, at least in my experience. And it's one of the main strengths that they bring to their teams and their workplaces.
I love that. We're already midway, so anyone just tuning in, welcome to Breaking Norms, Building Dreams. We are live with United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network 105.3 and 107.7 in New Orleans. Can you believe we're already midway?
No, but then again, we're always having fun and just keep talking.
Yes. Yes. Um, on that, how would you say problem solving is key aspect of parenting? Big one.
Oh, it's like when I go first. Oh my gosh, where to start? Hey, I've got coaching sessions, but kiddo's just having a meltdown and they're terrible twos. Or
Hmm.
I'm running out of diapers and kiddo's already in the diaper table. Um,
Think fast.
think fast. It's so many things that come to mind. It's like problem solving, strategic thinking,
Yeah.
planning. Well, not planning that much. That wasn't quite well planned out.
Yeah.
But creative problem solving, being agile. Um, so many things that come to mind. So many different scenarios. But yeah, problem solving is usually big. Or you find out last minute they're doing this, I don't know, performance at daycare, and you need to come up with a costume. Or so many things. You've run out of whatever. And all of a sudden kiddo no longer wants orange flavor, but apple flavor, and shops
Yeah.
are closed now. Okay.
Constant.
So it's constant. It's constant. And we're just being flexed as parents over and over in ways that are oftentimes not something that we can anticipate. Right? So it's like thinking in the moment, being very agile in our approaches,
Mhm.
depending on what the situation is, obviously.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, problem solving is just that soft skills. Well, I don't want to say it's soft skills, but that skills muscle is big time being flexed and trained during parenthood. What do you think?
I think that's something to kind of like when you're applying for a job, that's something you can put on your resume. And everyone's like, "Oh, I'm just a mom." But a mom wears many hats.
Hmm.
So thinking like we can wear so many hats. So if maybe you're doing bookkeeping at home for your finances at the house, you can still in a way add that to the resume. That's like I'm not a resume expert by any means. Nadine, you may be able to shed some more light on this, but
Hmm.
there's ways that you can kind of leverage those kind of skills that you have experienced when you're taking care of the kids while you're building your resume.
Hmm. Yes, for sure. It's like those type of things. Oftentimes that comes out in conversations when you're kind of applying for jobs, or you're getting back to, what we talked about earlier, getting that clarity. It's like, what did you do? It's like, oh, it's like I organized this get together for a few kids for a party or whatever. It's like, okay, so how many families did attend? Well, 30. They each had 2 kids. We had a budget. It's like project management, event management experience, coordinating, organizing, planning, strategic thinking, stakeholder management, getting 20 families together with their kids. It's like it's all those things that are coming up. And then you look for where else that shows up in their lives, and right away you have those skills not just on your resume, but you have wonderful examples you can bring to life during an interview as well, when you're talking about that. And yeah, there's like so many things. I'm just it's like my kiddo just started negotiating, and I was like, oh, isn't that great that you can do that now? And also, oh no. It's like need to up my negotiation
Yeah.
skills. So that's kind of coming up now.
Funny
Uh,
that you're saying that. My
yeah,
daughter's just the same. Like she's so
yeah,
good though. Like it's kind of scary. Like I can't remember exactly how she said it, but it was just like an instance of we'd be like, "No, you can't do that," and she's like, "Yeah, but what about doing this, and then I can do that." And it's
yeah,
like,
exactly.
"Wait a minute. Yes, you can do it that way, but that's not the problem." I know.
I know you're equally like so proud of them for also creative problem solving, right?
Yeah.
And also it's like, oh no. Absolutely. The other thing that I'm thinking of is boundary or expectation setting, right?
Mm,
Especially in a like in any kind of job, be it corporate or not, you need to be able to, say, set expectations with what your maybe your clients can expect from you, where you can help them, and where it might be going over certain boundaries when you reply to emails, what scope of work you're able to do within a certain time frame, etc. And that comes up at home just as well, and probably comes along with some tough conversations, which at any stage you need to do at work too, at some stage when you're client facing, or you're having tough conversations with teammates or whatever. So there's you can flex all those muscles,
Yes.
both at home and at work, and be just a bit more strategic about how you're um, um, yeah, kind of in identifying those skills and how you're applying that at work.
Yeah, and time management I find is a big one. So once
Mm.
you have your boundaries a little bit more laid out, I feel like that's where the time management piece can come in a little bit more. I find like when you're working with others with time management, sometimes they don't have the foundations of the boundaries, which make it a little bit difficult. So let's just use me for example. Uh,
Go
I
for it.
I'm working on my own boundaries of not responding to emails on the weekends. I will for like if there was like a client emergency or something like that, then yes, I will respond. But if emails come in, like it takes every bean out of my body. I'm not because also have OCD in my inbox. I'm like, I need nothing in my inbox. But um, I've been working on this myself on the boundary piece. And then once I know, okay, this is on average, sometimes how many emails I'll get throughout the weekend, then this is how much I can time block in a way. I don't like to time block because I have a bit scattered brain with my ADHD. I ebbs and flows. But my most efficient time is in this time to get all this done. I'm going to do it then. But at least then I can kind of build those foundational pieces within the business of what I'm doing throughout
Mhm.
the week than just kind of guessing what my time management skills boundaries are.
Yeah. Yeah. It totally builds on that. And time
Yeah.
management is so, especially like going back to, you have until 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock until kids need to be picked up and come back home. So there's a whole lot of um, work that kind of needs to be done in most cases by certain, it's like adhering to deadlines. That's your own deadline, then that you're working towards. And the biggest thing around it, like turning it around a bit, is also that you need to grow your muscles on focusing,
Mhm.
being productive during that time when you're blocking your time, or you're managing your time, but you also need to be productive and focused during those times. There's obviously techniques on how you can learn to do that a bit more, but that also, a lot can be done. I can create a 3-course dinner in half an hour if I wanted to. um, and that then comes with, problem solving, creativity, and resourcefulness. But yeah, time management is big as well,
Mhm.
and building in buffers as part of that time management. It's not just being the productive, not just being having the productive part as part of time management, but also, what, like, planning for the unexpected, which there is usually a lot, a
Always.
lot of in motherhood, and in career, or if you're managing projects, etc. That always comes up. So part of that time management is not just the productive side, but having some buffers in there, some flexibility, and coming back to the very beginning of what you said,
Mhm.
the self-care as well. It's like
Mhm.
self-care or time for yourself, rest is important and productive too.
Yeah.
So that needs to be part of it, just as a kind of side reminder here, for anyone who that resonates with. It's like schedule in some time for yourself.
I'm actually really excited that it's July because it's summer break, and
Mhm.
that means early drop off can be at 8 and
Wee-hee.
late pickup can be at 6 if we wanted. So I feel like July, I finally got like, I don't want to say my life back, but it just feels like extra hours in the day to get the things done that I've been needing to get done.
Mhm.
Because I've been finding like I am not that productive some sometimes in the day. My
Mhm.
productive queue, I'm now seeing, no wonder my my production is usually really good from 1 to 3. Whatever I'm doing between 9 and 12, we don't know. But whichever of these seems to be my prime time I've been finding in July. So I'm like, okay, when summer's gone, what's going to happen in the fall? Because
Mhm.
we're still on the wait list, story of our lives, so wait list for before and after school care. And so that means my day is shrinked up again. So
Mhm.
now that I know that that's my most productive for myself, I'm like, how can I just maybe leverage and move the needle a little bit to having the extra productive in an hour before? Is it
Mhm.
because I finally get all my emails? Because I do have OCD with my email inbox
Mhm.
slash clients too that I manage. Like I need all their stuff done before I do other stuff. So it's just being mindful too, like you're saying, of like the when you're like the production of what feels the most for you. Because everyone can thrive. Maybe you're a morning person and you can wake
Mhm.
up at 5 a.m. I know I had a coach slash mentor, and they're like, the most productive businesses that do really well wake up at 5 a.m. And I'm like, no, thank you. I like my sleep.
No.
Ah,
Yeah, I recently actually read a blog about it. It's like one of those reporters wanted to was like there has to be something about people. You hear it's like 4 or 5 a.m. get ups, and then you do all your stuff, and it only works so much because if you're not a morning person and you're pushing through that
mm,
and that tiredness, it actually can be counterproductive. So again, it comes back to the clarities, like what, and you seem to like have that now. It's like when are you most productive?
mhm.
Right? And then working with that and getting more curious around what can you do and moving the needle doesn't have to be a full 10 like 10 points or whatever. It's like what
Yeah.
is there that actually makes sense, that doesn't mean you'll have to overhaul your entire life or your structure, but what are some tweaks that you can make here or there, to try out and see how you can make that work for you a little bit more. And that's the way to go. A bit clarity. Okay, how can you tweak it, twist it, amend it, try it out, do it again and over and over. It doesn't have to be a full
Mhm.
on overhaul.
Yeah. I kind of want to touch on this question. How do you think businesses can better recognize and support the professional skills of mothers bring to the table? So, how do you think employers, let's
Hmm.
just employers, how
Hmm.
can they recognize? I just feel like when you look at a job description, I think the world's changing yet again. Yes, it's great that you have all these degrees, but I think professional skills and actually doing it shines a little bit more sometimes.
Mm. Um, well, the first thing that came to mind is like have more mothers on boards.
Mhm.
Like have mothers run those companies, have mothers being the hiring managers or in HR or the decision makers, um, and you'll automatically see more parents, more mothers in the workplace, and have those workplace policies in place that are actually beneficial. It's the same for in politics, like policymakers. If you have more women, more parents, yes, even more fathers, but there's still a bit of a discrepancy there. It's like if you have mothers in those roles or people who are really empathetic towards parents, you will see a shift. It's just
Mhm.
the way it is. If you but what does it take in order for them to get there in the first place?
Mhm.
Right? So what comes first? Is it the policymakers and the decision makers, or it's like what does it cost to have those people in there?
Mhm.
And I get why some people don't want to disclose that they're a parent during their interviews or in their application process. I get it. It's like I'm in Facebook groups where people find themselves pregnant and they're like, I don't know, by when do I have to tell my employer? that I'm pregnant. I'm already in my second trimester, and it's like, or then I get it. So it's a tough thing to do, and it shouldn't be on moms to um, kind of raise the flag or fly the flag and say it's like, hey, we need more support. There's a whole lot of other people out there who need to pick up a bit of extra work and make it work, and it's difficult. There's there are studies and reports out there showing the return on investment if you do hire mothers into the workplace. Some of them are higher retention rates because it can be a lot more like if you have the policies in place at work and the support system. Moms are loyal. They'll stay around. If you value them, you will have your most loyal employees around. Because they know what they have, and they get stuff done.
Yeah.
Moms get stuff done for sure.
Yes.
But that's the support framework needs to be there at work.
Yes. I
Um,
want
yeah, go
to
for it.
I wanted to touch on that.
Sorry.
It was during COVID-ish times, and this business owner lost all his staff, and he didn't know what to do. He was almost going under and all these things, and all of a sudden, like, he put out this post and he had a mom apply. He's like, well, okay. And then before you know it, it's all moms, women, working
Mhm.
under his business. And he said it's the best decision he's ever made in his life. Production's up, retention's up. Everything that was going wrong originally in the business has gone up like 30 times the percent. I think
Mhm.
or even higher than that. So it's true. And like, as listeners know or not know, but like a lot of the business that I started, Crave Dynamics, was to help moms work from home.
Mhm.
And I just full-heartedly trust the ladies to get the work done. I know they're going to show up. I don't need to micromanage. And a lot of them have been with me for almost 5 years coming on it. And it's just, if you put that trust within your parents, moms, you're going to see that come back.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And but people might be willfully looking the other way, right?
Mhm.
There's same or what do you call it? There are studies out there about having more diverse teams overall in all aspects of diverse teams because
Mhm.
it actually pays off. It
Mhm.
pays off to have a female CEO of the company. It pays off to have a certain percentage of managers in your company,
Mhm.
say, be Black or of Asian descent, or have women a certain percentage in the leadership team. It just pays off financially big time.
Mhm.
But still, where are they?
Yes.
Where's the progress there?
Mhm.
Mm. So I know you and me were both kind of individually championing and allying and stepping up, like to support other organizations
Mhm.
um, who are helping in that sense, and then individually we do our thing to help mothers, right? To see is like what is in their individual scope of change and empower to help them on an individual level
Mhm.
and live their best lives.
Mhm. Yes. Yeah. With
It's a
that,
heavy topic, huh?
it is a heavy topic. I was actually just thinking, like, when you were saying all this, the one thing I think employers, or even if you're just starting out too, thinking of hiring more parents, moms, it'd be nice to have to. Well, I've actually been seeing this a lot too, actually, but having like daycare within the organization has been like a game changer. Like there was what is it, where like you work from home but you can go and work there, like workspaces.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
New trend
Like
that I'm listening to is workspaces integrating daycare there too, so you can go there if you're an entrepreneur. I think there's a company in Ontario or Kelowna that does this. I have to look at their names again. I think I
There's
randomly
some here in Vancouver too. It's
yeah,
really great. Yeah. It's like drop-in spaces, or it's like remote workplaces. You just go in for
yes.
your desk or your office that you hire for the day or for the month or whatever, and they have childcare included. It's really
Yeah.
neat.
And then that's just could interplay too for those um, business owners thinking of like, how can you work that in? Maybe you can't do the daycare thing, but if you roll in the flexibility, yes, you don't need to be in office. You can go work here. They have daycare. Maybe we cover a certain percent or something like
Hmm.
that. Like
Yeah.
it's just offering something a little extra. And I went to Vancouver Startup Week. I was on the panelist with lovely Lindsay, who's also been on the show.
Hmm.
They were talking about what they do for a living. This organization is hire um, individuals to work like with for Lululemon or anything like that for big companies. And they said the biggest change with what they're seeing within the market is, yes, flexibility, but also having that mental health support and extra support within the organization. So I feel like we as parents and moms, we need that mental health support because we're doing a lot of it.
Hmm. Yeah. And what I've seen alongside that trend is um, so mental health support, also the support for say career advancements. It's not necessarily that you have like oftentimes like, oh mom, there's no aspirations there or whatever, and it's fine as long as you're hired to do a particular job and you're delivering on that job, then that's fine. But oftentimes, like moms are being overlooked in the workplace when they're already in it. And it's like, oh, she wouldn't want to travel anyway, or she might not be up for that leadership position or doing that stretch project or whatever. And it's like, I dare you. It's like, just put it out, give those same opportunities to moms and just see, they might just surprise you. They're looking for those types of things instead of going other places, and that might not be there this year, maybe next year. So it's not like there's this bias as well about once they're in there's like they might not want to, they might not want to progress in their career, and oftentimes it's like they might want a mentor at work, they might want an internal coach, external coach, a sponsor. You
Mhm.
never know. There's so many options and opportunities there to support beyond the actual salary or benefits package as
Mhm.
well. And it's all about, I would call it the extended mom support village. So traditionally, you might have it, as your family and friends and maybe neighbors supporting you in your motherhood journey, but I would always stretch that it can be someone at work too on the professional side of things. So like a coach or a mentor, sponsor. Um, it's even your own manager, it's like to support you in that sense and pave the way for a bit more flexibility. There's so
Mhm.
many options, or internal employee support networks as well.
Yeah.
Um, so many options, but they need to be carved out or made available,
Mhm.
advocated for.
Exactly.
Lots of options there to keep moms happy at work.
Yeah, exactly. I was just kind of going to segue a bit that just kind of for anyone listening, just thinking of curious questions that you can ask your employees or even your employer, like opening those doors. But I find that sometimes we're sometimes scared to talk to the higher ups. So I always try to say, what if we remove the title? And instead of just saying, oh, they're the CEO of this business, I just want to go, I'll just use me. I need to talk to Brittney because I need X, Y, and Z. I
Hmm.
don't, she doesn't have that title. I just call myself Brittney and we're a team here. I use we in my kind of my conversations because I wouldn't be here without my team
Hmm.
have built this business. So trying to change a little bit of the mindset and also like asking those questions and having maybe quizzes within the organization so you can build those other extra programs for parents, moms, skill development, and all these and other things that people might be struggling with, but you won't
Mhm.
know until you ask.
Yeah, exactly. And on top of that, especially internally, in the as part of the hiring process, is like in some countries, I know in some countries it's actually illegal to ask about your family status, right? Because you can easily be discriminated about it. Even in the kind of casual chats ahead of a formal interview process, right? It's like you like look at what like internally what are your processes around hiring, what is the language you use when you're rolling out a role. Is it a neutral role or like neutral language or inviting language to actually invite parents to apply, or does it explicitly display a bias against mothers or parents?
Yes.
What what are the type of questions you're asking during an interview process? It goes on to names on marital status. It depends on where you're interviewing and how much aware they are of the rules that are in place or not. But there's a lot that you can already do in order to invite more mothers or more parents onto your team and
Mhm.
specifically hire for those.
Yes. Yeah, and just to like, I'm on the board of directors at an organization, and um it's just like I've just talked to them about like the hours of like doing our board meetings. Like it's
Mhm,
really hard for me to do certain things at like 4:30. I want to be a part of the board because I'm so passionate about it. I have all the values in alignment, but I just can't make that time work. It's chaos here. Unless you want chaos, and I won't be able to be fully present, by all means, I'll make it
mhm,
work. But for me, who wants to be fully present in those kind of meetings, it's like I knew like I had to have those kind of conversations. So sometimes it takes hard conversations to maybe make certain tweaks. Not that this was a hard conversation. I'm just saying like
mhm.
sometimes hard conversations might have to happen to make those changes and momentums within.
Yeah,
Um,
and sometimes it doesn't have to be a hard one. It could
mhm,
just be a general inquiry. Do we have to have this regular monthly team meeting at 8:30 in the morning,
mm,
right? What's a different way we can also make this work? Or, it's like it doesn't have to be like anticipate it hard. Just like come in with some solutions or right away and see how you can make that possible. I'm just like it might turn into a hard conversation, but what if it isn't?
mhm,
What if it's something they're already working on or they've been, yes, thank you for bringing it up. It's like when I had new team members coming on board in my corporate role, I would explicitly invite them to bring in feedback because we're like, most of the team members have been here for a long time. We might have blinkers on and we might have blind spots. So for anyone new coming into the teams, like, please bring it up, let me know. And there was like one person who looked at me like with big eyes and it was like what's going on. It's like, no one's ever asked me for my feedback in my previous jobs. And I was like, what? How is that possible? And they were like, yeah, and it's like, well, here I would love to have your feedback. I don't want to be surrounded by yes sayers. I would like
mhm,
to
mhm,
have this as a team that works for everyone. And if
mhm.
we have blind spots that we don't see because we've been here so often or looked at the same screen or the same process for too long, you as
Exactly.
someone who hasn't been here for a while might just bring that
Yeah.
idea, right?
Mm,
So it's like you might just help them. It's like find the courage, talk it through with someone, and then just bring it up. It may not be as difficult as you anticipate.
100%. I love that. We're pretty much at time today. So, Nadine, maybe you can talk about your free resource and then we'll end.
Yeah, just real quick, like log on to our website, go to the resource center. There's it's nadinestille.com, Nadine, stille.com. There's a resource library there with a few lovely things. One of the ones that is the most popular is Nurture Mama. 3 resources you can each do in under 5 minutes to bring a lot more calm and confidence into your lives, from affirmations, calming meditations, or even a self-love and gratitude journal to help you wind down at the end of the day and bring a lot more positivity into your life. So that's Nurture Mama on my website. Thank you for posting the link there in the comments as well and in the show notes, Brittney. Much appreciated.
Yeah. We'll just do a shout out to Terry saying thank you everyone for the wonderful information. Once again, very inspiring. Thank you.
Oh, thanks, Terry.
Thank you to all our listeners today, and a big thank you to United Public Radio Network and UFO Paranormal Radio Network. Next week, we have Cassandra on the show, so please come tune in. We're kind of doing a mix about her business. She's also a coach. I won't say too much. You'll have to come and listen because we're just creating some specific topics there. But with that, everyone, please remember your journey is unique and your worth is unquestionable. Thank you.
Bye.